Shanti, what can I say after seeing all of that? It took me back to so many beautiful scenes with Baba and with the family, with our seniors. Sister Mohini used to come to Brazil every year for many years. Lots and lots of, not just Brazil, the other countries of South America also. So we traveled together many, many times. And as was mentioned in the beginning, Sister Bhumi asked me if I could share some thoughts from the Dharana-based leadership program in a way for general consumption, because the program was created to help our instruments, basically those who run our centres and run countries and or run departments within the service. And so the course was basically over 9 sessions in 3 days, so it was fairly intensive. And of course, what does Baba talk about when he talks about leadership? He doesn't even use the word. He talks about us being instruments. He talks about us being masters of the garden or the masters of the shop, his shops. He talks about us being trustees and so on. But it's very, very clear in every single Morley almost how Baba wants us to help and treat others when we're interacting with them, whether we're living with them. And a lot of us do live with other Brahmins. I always used to say that if you wanted to understand about how to live with others, see what Baba says to the Madhavanivasis, especially, because he had great expectations of the Madhavanivasis, and he would give them all sorts of yuktis, all sorts of tips about how to live together and how to do service together. So in a way, every single Morley is about how we should be with ourselves, of course, and how we should be with others. In the course, so we talk about how Baba looks at the different things from leadership. There's one Morley that I just start off the course with one Avyakt Morley in which Baba talks about 8 or 9 different qualities that he expects from us as his instruments, just to show how rich Baba's and how high his expectations are of us. It also looks at how to understand this chaotic world that we live in. What can we learn from it? How to interact with situations, because as Baba's instruments, all of us are Baba's instruments for something or the other. How do we therefore deal with people, and especially how to deal with situations, how to understand the craziness that's going on in the world at the moment. And there's a special attention given, and this is what I'm going to be talking about today more than anything, and the next couple of days, is about coming together. Like we all come from different backgrounds, not only in this life. If we trace our existences over 84 lives until we get to the Baba's door, now imagine how many relationships we've had, how many situations we've been in, over how many births, how many children have we had, how many parents have we had, how many jobs have we had, and of course we've been, as Baba says, equally divided between male and female. So we've had births as women and births as men also. So what happens when we come together? And this is basically what this month is about, how to live together, how to serve together better. And part of that is knowing how to adjust to others, the differences and also the commonalities. There's one section on delegation and trust. Trust is a big problem rather not a problem, big challenge for most of us. Trusting ourselves, trusting in the drama, trusting in the service that we're doing. And there's also one session on dealing with different sanskars. And of course, the big one that we're going to talk about a little bit today too is ego and self-deception. How we deceive ourselves about ourselves, right? And then we talk about a little bit about self-sovereignty, which is another synonym, I would say. We are self-sovereigns, and therefore we have the right to govern in the future. So I was listening to what Didi was saying about Ra and Baba in that Abhiyak Moli before, about being Raziyukt. And in fact, knowing the secrets of the self, it helps me to understand other people as well. So I'm going to be talking about that today. I'm going to be talking about probably our greatest challenge is to deal with our own ego and to deal with the egos of others. The word ego in English, anyway, it's actually a Greek word. And in Greek, ego means I. It's the same word as I. So if you say in Greek, I'm going to the bank, you'll say ego, going to the bank. I don't know the rest of it in Greek, but it means I. And if we take it from both in Sanskrit and also in Hindi, ahankar or ahankara, it's a very, very, very good description because aham means I and kar is related to what I do. So it's me and what I do. So it's me and my creation. So people, when they move around, they are so proud of what they do and what they have achieved. And we have to be careful with that, because there are two me's, there are two I's, even though I is probably the most popular word in our dictionary. How many times a day do we think the word I, or do I think, or do I say the word I, even I think this, I think that, I did this, I did that. But there are two I's. One is the real one, the soul, the who and what I am really. And in that I am proud of the internal treasures that I have, but I'm also aware of the treasures that others have. And as part of our homework tomorrow is to look at the living being, so I have to have such vision that can see through all of the rubbish, can see through all of the appearances and see the real value of the other. But I can only do that if I'm seeing things from that perspective. Today, Baba was talking about dangling in his remembrance in this morning's movie. And I was thinking that, look at the state of the world in Brazil at the moment there. In fact, today there was almost an overthrow of the government. The trucks have blocked 380 through 400 different parts of major highways in Brazil, demanding that the army comes in and overthrows the newly elected government. But of course, in the end, it just fizzled out. But how did Baba, if I'm dangling from Baba, how am I seeing these scenes and situations? Of course, I have to see things, what really is there. I have to see the souls are going through different situations. Their souls are just playing their roles. And in fact, they're the same things that they did last cycle. So naturally, if I'm having Baba's perspective on things, that's the very first thing I need to do to be able to live and to work with others. I need to try to feel how Baba feels. I need to see how Baba sees. I need to use Gyan to understand situations. I need to put things to myself. Objectively, in terms of the Gyan, that means I'm looking at things with the third eye, and therefore I'll have a very correct reading of the situation, and then I can, okay, what sort of things should I feel? What sort of things should I think? What sort of things should I become because of the situation? And so there are always these two starting points. One is the real me, the spiritual me, the soul that's had 84 births, the soul that has been around the whole cycle, the soul with so much experience, the soul that is actually beyond. I'm not any one of my 84 bodies. I am as different from this body, this physical body here, as I am from my previous body that I don't even know what it was like. No one. Can you remember your previous body or the one before that or the one before that? So I'm as different from my physical body at the moment from any of the bodies that I've had. So that perspective, I'm an eternal being. How do I see this world? How do I see other people? The first and most important relationship is the spiritual one. So that's why when Baba says, remember me alone, it was so much emphasized in this morning's Murli, right? But what it means is that not only should Baba be my center of reference, but when I think of anyone else, I will think of that one. And this is how we can see the living being as per our exercise tomorrow. I can see the living being because I'm with God's Drishti. I'm having the same feeling that God has towards someone because I'm close to Baba and I'm seeing things from that perspective. I won't get lost in the appearances, and that, the attraction to the body is one thing, but then there's the attraction to the personality, the attraction to the achievements of someone else. Oh, look at what that person has done. And look at that person's personality. Isn't it wonderful? And we shouldn't forget that if there's anything good in anyone, including myself, originally it would have come from Baba. Baba's inheritance. It's either what he's giving us now or what he gave to us in the last cycle. Anything good in me or in anyone else, the origin of that was God. God had brought that up in the soul somehow or the other, especially at the end of the last cycle. And whatever inheritance anyone had, especially the good part, it's God that brought that out somehow. So if anyone has any good in them, it comes from God. And even that word, and the word God is related to the word good in Old English. It's come from the same root, God and good. So there are two me's. The one is the real deep me, the soul that's been through all of these things. And from that perspective, I look at anyone else. So from that depth of being, I see through the appearances. I see through as Didi was saying, the characteristics. I see through the character. I see the diamond, as Baba said today. Everyone is a shining light. And my vision has to be so well trained that I can see that in other people. But of course, if I'm stuck in my own bodily identity, I will only see other bodies. I can't see souls if I am in body consciousness. It's impossible. In fact, I'm not even aware of God. If there's body consciousness, God is not in the equation, nor is any sort of spirituality. So if I become the ego me, the ego little me, I am so and so, I've done this and I've done that. And it's not just the bodily, worldly ego that I was born in such and such a place, in such and such a family, in such a tradition, Indian, Australian, Hindu, Christian, whatever. That's very limiting to think like that. Of course, that is body consciousness, and that's the cause of all of the problems in the world. But if I start to see things from this deeper perspective as a soul, it's completely different. So if I'm working and living with others, I have to take into account these two eyes, the limited one, which is the body conscious eye, not only me, but anyone else who I'm living and working with, and the soul conscious me, the real me, the one that is related to God, and then the other person too. There are three things that I have to become detached from. I have to, first of all, and it's more easy, I have to become detached from the body. That's the easy one. I'm the soul, not the body. The second detachment's a little bit more difficult. I'm the actor. I'm not any role that I have, and this is why Baba says that we have to be soul conscious and not role conscious. In living and serving with others, roles get in the way. I'm more important than you. I'm more superior than you. I'm this and that and the other. So these are the sorts of things that I have to understand. I have to give up wanting to win. I have to give up wanting to be first, wanting to be understood, wanting to be loved and so on, because I have to do that with myself. I have to understand myself. I have to love myself really as Baba loves me. Then I can love anyone else. And so there are two starting points for anything. One is the limited me, which gives me completely wrong version of reality when I'm thinking about anyone or trying to understand anyone. If I'm just looking at my relationship and my role and my story and that one's role and that one's story, then it's very, 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 very difficult. I have to go beyond my body. I have to go beyond my role. And more difficult is to go beyond my story, that I did this, I did that. Even my story in Gyan, because often the body consciousness that we had before Gyan, we just substitute it with sort of a BK body consciousness. Before it was, I was born in such and such a place, in such a family, and I did this and I did that, and I studied engineering and so on and so on. I worked here, I worked there, and then I came to Gyan. But even in Gyan, I took my Brahmin birth in such and such a place, so-and-so was my teacher, I did this, I did that, I opened this center, I opened that center. But it's the same, actually. It's just we put BK in front of the body consciousness. It's the same. So what is essentially different when I start to look at the world around me? I can see two realities, and this is so important when we're trying to live and deal with others, like interact with others, because I have two realities. One is a limited one with all of these limited characteristics that are related to ego, and the other is my unlimited reality as Baba's child. And now I may be completely different from anyone whom I'm living with or working with, They have a different personality, different appearance, maybe a different gender, different age, different culture even. Many differences could be there. But the only way that we'll be able to get along is if I understand what we have in common. So both of us are souls. Both of us have the same original state. Both of us come from the soul world. Both of us are children of Baba. And this is like the real deep secret of being able to get along with anyone. That I'm able to see both things, like respecting the differences of age and color and so on and so forth, experience, social background, anything. They may be different, but we are also similar. And the basis of any spiritual relationship is what we have in common. In fact, that's the basis of the word communication. Now, half of the word communication is commun. And commun in Latin means common. So communication means exchanging something we have in common. That's what communication means. So unless I make the effort to think about what do I have in common with this person, really at a deep level, if I can't establish that, I won't communicate. If I'm judging the person on his appearance, on his characteristics, as Didi was talking about, if I'm just looking at the surface, the superficial layer, I won't be able to get across to that soul. But if I can go down deep myself, I can touch the other soul also. Because at a deep level, there's no such a thing as differences. The differences are just very superficial. So these are sorts of things that we have to take into account. And these are the secrets, the deep significances that we have to take on board if we want to be Raja Yukt. So these are the sorts of things that we'll be talking about. Tomorrow we can talk about what happens when we put Baba in between. As Baba says, one of the greatest yuktis is to put Baba between the soul and someone else, to put Baba between the soul and the situation. And that is the art of having good relationships, to live together and to work together. So we can take up that tomorrow. But anyway, today I just wanted to go to the basic. Now, having these two perspectives, the limited one, which takes us one way, and the unlimited perspective, which frees us. So these are just some thoughts that I wanted to share today. Thank you.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Brother Kent. I think this is the foundation of Brahmin life. And if the foundation is strong and firm, then automatically everything will be okay. And I know that when you all were young Brahmins or early days, we had lot of practice of soul consciousness. And then after that, I think we get so busy with service and taking care of many things. But definitely, once we asked Dadi Janki, what is more important? She said relationships are most important. And as you said, that first it is relationship with one's own self. And if my relationship with myself is very clear, then relationship with others will also be very beautiful. So thank you very much. And yeah, we will listen to you. And I'm sure everyone will benefit. But thank you for, we had to ask you and you accepted. So thank you for that. Om Shanti.
Thanks, Didi. Om Shanti.